Matawan.
And then how do you spell it?
EHMAHTAHWAHN.
And what's it mean?
Matawan means mysterious.
And so- I had never planned to spend my life pursuing the perfect photograph. Yet, once you've experienced near perfection and the joy that brings, you hope the pursuit never ends. Chasing the light, finding visual inspiration to illuminate inner ambition, merging mind, emotion, spirit to see deeper and further, and along the way, receive new epiphanies. The Wandering Eye is a lifelong quest to capture the perfect moment. When I left Havre, on the railroad tracks along the road, there was just an endless line of empty railroad cars. So I got curious and I looked it up, and it's where the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad stores all its excess cars. There are 34 miles of the cars. The Missouri River is inaccessible by vehicle for about 150 miles. It's the Upper Missouri Breaks. It's a wild and scenic section of the river. That's why I went over to Zortman and then went up north towards Bear Paw Lake. And now, after 2 weeks, I'm back on the river at Coal Banks Landing. To Decision Point. And this is where Lewis and Clark had a big decision to make, which was the Missouri River, which would take them to Great Falls, and which was the False River. And well, ultimately they chose the right river. The Upper Missouri Breaks is about 150 miles of the Missouri River that's inaccessible by vehicle. You can only reach it through paddling a boat through it. I had looked into doing that, but I don't really have the right setup with me. And so then I looked into a guided trip, and they were just too expensive to do. I was fortunate. I met a couple of people who work at the Rocky Boy Reservation Veterans Center. They were doing a one-day trip on the river, and as it turns out, the reservation had closed its borders because of COVID, and they asked me if I wanted to go along with them. And so I had the opportunity to paddle about 26 miles of the river with two amazing people, Gary and Sam. They shared a lot of stories with me about Army life, reservation life, and their experience growing up in this part of Montana.
Matawan means mysterious. You could use it as like when you think of the yin yang, there's good in everything, there's bad in everything. You could be trying to do something good and it could turn out bad, or you could be trying to do something bad and turn out good for whoever you're trying to do bad to or whatever. Or there could be other examples, but it's all a mystery, you know, it's all meant to be. Either way, it's meant to be, whether it's good or bad, you know, like your whole culture getting stripped from you and then barely hanging on to your language even, but for some reason you're still here, you're still doing all this. Matawan, it's a mystery. Meant to be.
Jim and Martha, the campground hosts at Coal Banks, have a passion for old schoolhouses in Montana, and they told me about one that wasn't very far away from the campground and offered to show it to me. It's called Big Bend. It was built in 1918 and was used until 1966. It's this beautiful building out in the middle of the prairie, and you can't help think about the lives that passed through there. For almost 50 years, the school was instrumental in shaping people. You walk through it and it's dilapidated and falling apart, but you can still feel and see the history of the place. It's truly amazing. Almost from the very beginning of my Lewis and Clark adventure, people had been talking about this ferry that crosses the Missouri. And I had heard so many different stories about it. Some people said, oh, it's inaccessible, your RV's too big for it, it's not running. I mean, just countless different tales. And I had really stumbled on it by chance. I really didn't know where it was. I just happened to end up in the right place. I was fortunate enough that my RV fit on the ferry.
How we looking? Holy shit. Oh boy.
The Virgil ferry has been in service since 1913. The original ferry was replaced in 2013. The family that has run this since 1960 is now in their third and training their fourth generation how to cross the river. It's mostly used for farm traffic in the summer months, but it is free to anybody that shows up and their vehicle fits on it. I'm looking forward to sharing next week's video. After 7 weeks, we're finally going to be at the headwaters of the Missouri River in Three Forks, Montana.